Hello and welcome to Motorland Aragon for the final race of this weekend's Spanish Formula 4 action. My name is Leo Gorman, and a bright and sunny afternoon at the circuit in near Alcanez in the northeast of Spain. And if you're joining us, thank you, congratulations, and well done on getting through the little bit of a wait. We have had some red flags in races, some of the other support races going on this weekend, and that has caused us quite a significant delay. 45 minutes we were running late, but that does not mean anything for this race. This is not changing. It is still the full distance of 25 minutes plus one lap. As we now enter the final third of this championship. Cars have started leaving the pit lane a few moments ago. Some are still cycling around, doing a second lap around to get a final read of the circuit before the race starts. The red flags we did have weren't necessarily, there were some crashes in previous races, but mostly to do with a mixture of damage, some broken cars. They left fluid over parts of the circuit, so there were stoppages to get that cleaned up. So nothing really more serious than that, except a lot of dirt, debris, detritus and whatnot that have been left around the various parts of the circuit. Lots of gravel that have been pulled out of the gravel traps onto the circuit. We had plenty of people on track with leaf blowers blowing the gravel away and off the circuit. So we do have a relatively clean surface now, but not perfect. After this much racing this weekend, it's never going to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination. One thing I can tell you, as you've just probably seen on screen a few moments ago, the temperature has gone up somewhat since this morning. It was 26 degrees Celsius this morning. It's now 33. Quite balmy afternoon near the circuit today. Humidity is 40%, so not totally uncomfortable. And the track temperature is 38 degrees. So this could really come down to the tyres the drivers have left. We've had practice sessions, with the two practice sessions, we've had two qualifying sessions, we've had two races. Some drivers will have played the strategy of keeping fresh tyres maybe for this last race and making the best of this session. Some will have used all the fresh tyres and will have been left with just used rubber for this final race. But we'll really get a read of that as the race goes on, because you can definitely tell when these drivers are beginning to struggle on their handhooks. We're seeing the grid on screen now. And I can tell you, Hugh Barter, the man on screen now, is on pole position. The number 68 Campos Racing. He won race 1 yesterday, and he finished second today. And admittedly, the championship is a bit of a difficult question as it stands at the moment, because he is, although Barter is second in the standings, second behind the man on screen now, Nicholas Solov. The gap is quite significant. The gap between Solov and Barter is actually 120 points. And in theory, Solov can win the championship today. If he wins, Barter needs to score less than 3 points. So it would require Barter to either finish 9th, 10th, below, or not at all, and for Solov to win, for Solov to wrap up the championship today. But that is incredibly early. What we may see is a very frantic battle between the two for honours. Because Barter's probably, his concentration is probably more on this chap here, Timotheus Kucharczyk, third in the standings and 17 points behind Barter. They had a bit of a ding-dong in race 2 this morning. Kucharczyk doing a couple of dive bombs, the second of which really came off in the hairpin towards the end of the lap. And it was quite a distant dive bomb, but Barter was clever enough to leave him enough room. And they both finished, albeit second and third. There's Valerio Rinicella, who's starting fourth. And that was different from the outcome for Kirill Smal and Robert De Haan. Robert De Haan went for a similar move down the hairpin, dive bombed in, got all tyres smoked up and wheels on the grass and on the curb, and they had a crash, and that brought out a safety car and took both of them out from third and fourth positions. Barter, although he lost the position when Kucharczyk did his dive bomb, they did at least finish on the podium, both of them. So, we now are just waiting for this final race to begin. As the grid slowly but surely clearing. There's been a few little changes this weekend that I must update you on. And if you've watched the first two races, you're probably well aware of them now. There's no Tio Martin Motorsport this weekend. Lola Lundfos, unfortunately, her budget wasn't sufficient to enter this weekend. Meanwhile, Daniel Nogales has switched to DriveX, formerly the Campagnos, so down to 2 drivers, just Max Meyer and Alvaro Garcia, as Aurelien Novels is not racing with them this weekend. Motorland Motorsport up to 3 entries, with the addition of Martinus Stenshore. GRS Racing down to 2 cars this weekend, with Daniel Mavlitov alongside Rayovac. Ricardo Grazia and Marcus Flack have clashes, but they will be back for the final 2 rounds, so GRS will be up to 4 cars. Santalak Racing, Theo Jensen is in for Ethan Isher, continues in the other car. Well, Cram Pinnacle, no Anshul Gandhi this weekend, it's just Ricardo Escoto, so they're running 1 car. However, JHR have entered Spanish Formula 4 this weekend with Noah Lyle, who competed with DriveX at the very beginning of the year at Portimao. And we're on the formation lap. As the racers get away from the grid. I can tell you, starting at the back is Alvaro Garcia for Formula de Campagnos, with Daniel Mavliatov just alongside. 26th will be Theo Jensen for Santalot Racing, with Manuel Espirito Santo starting 25th. Jeff Mackles for Motorland Motorsport will be starting 24th, with Noah Lyle for JHR alongside him. Max Meyer starts 22nd in the other Formula de Campagnos car to San Paulo de Buvazac. Difficult weekend for him, and it continues 21st on the grid for MP Motorsport. Miran Pingasov starts 20th on the grid of Maximar Konchelski, 19th for DriveX, while Ricardo Escoto scored a point earlier on this weekend. He'll be hoping to do more of the same, but difficult, for 18th on the grid for Cram Motorsport. DriveX are on 17th on the grid with Gail Julian, with Martinus Stenshore starting 16th in Motorland Motorsport. He's been impressive this weekend in his debut Spanish Formula 4 round. Bruno Del Pino, 15th for DriveX, with Vladislav Rybov for GRS starting 14th, his best qualifying by a long way. Sebastian Gravlund starts 13th on the grid for MP Motorsport with Theo Neal in the Sandlock Racing Machine starting 12th, and George Kelstra 14 points starts 11th place for Campos Racing. Zillemans and Fari rounds out the top 10 just behind Robert De Haan from Motorland Motorsport. He's 9th. Philip Jenik starts 8th from Campos Racing, with Christian Ho getting away from 7th. Daniel Nogales for DriveX starts 6th, possibly I think is one of his best starting positions for the whole season, while Kirill Small gets away from 5th. He could overtake George Kelstra for 4th in the standings today if he scores more than 6 points than Kelstra. The gap in the grid suggests that could happen. Valerio Rinacella, 4th on the grid. He's had 2 podiums this year. He'll be hoping to add one more to that. 3rd on the grid for MP Motorsport, Timo Kacharczyk. He's had 1 win and 7 podiums so far, and a 2 minutes 9:09. That puts him 3rd on the grid. You just see him on screen there in the black machine. 2nd in the grid, Nikola Solov, championship leader, 10 wins, 2 podiums so far. Absolutely imperious for much of this season, but this weekend he seems to have a very fine challenger in Hugh Barter. And as they round the final corner, Hugh Barter pulls onto the start-finish straight. On the left-hand side of the machine, the white car with the black engine cover pulling into a slot now. Pole position for Campos Racing. A 2 minutes .840. And he'll be hoping to take his 2nd win of the weekend and his 3rd of the season. Solov on the right-hand side of your screen in the blue. And this race will soon be ready to go, as the man at the back of the field waves his yellow flag. That will turn to green as the field is finally composed. Everyone's in place. Everyone at the front have been waiting for quite a while now. The green flag does wave, and this race will now be ready to go. And we're away. And it's a good start. No stallers this time round, and Solov, it gets into the lead, but only for a moment, because Hugh Barter holds it out, sticks to the outside, shall I say, and he may just have the lead as they come round the first couple of corners. And no, it's Solov. Solov is 2nd place, just behind Barter, with Kacharczyk in 3rd. Kirill Smal up to 4th position. Rinacella has been demoted down to 5th. Nogales still in 6th place. Someone going flying off the track towards the back, and a couple of others too. Robert De Haan on screen there amidst the blur. He is 7th place, just ahead of Christian Ho. Philip Jenik 9th, and Zillemans and Fari rounding out the top 10 at this point, but it is Barter who leads. Oh, and we do have an incident in the middle of the field. That is one of the Sandlock Racing cars. I do believe that might be Theo Neal. Some bits of carbon fibre flying off the car. It's gone off the track and into the gravel area, so I think that may not necessarily require a safety car. Solov goes off the circuit, as do several others. Neil, meanwhile, is we'll see in the middle. Oh, and he got a little bit airborne actually, and someone else is going to have some significant rear damage. And we'll see who that is when they come into the pits in a few moments' time, because definitely top plane of the rear wing is gone. But Barter for now leads. We have a stranded car in the chicane. And that's neither Neil or the other car. That is someone else. And it's from the back. It might be one of the GRS entries, but I can't confirm it. That might be Maviatov, actually. His first weekend in Spanish Formula 4. It's not been the easiest one for him. And we do have a safety car. The race is neutralised as Barter leads. And we have 3 cars in the pits. Sebastian Gravlund has gone in, as has Gail Julien in the DriveX entry, and Theo Neal. We saw him with his broken front wing. The safety car boards flashing bright We are neutralized for a moment. The other driver, and I think the other driver involved in the incident with Theo Neo was actually Alvaro Garcia in Formula de Campeones car. He has also gone into the pit lane. See the stranded car. It's Noah Lyle in the J4H entry, development entry. It's a British team, normally in British Formula 4. Lyle, of course, competed in the opening round of this season in Portimao with DriveX. That was a one-off entry in order to gain some experience of Formula 4 cars. And here again this weekend, we get a little bit more running. There's a common rule across a lot of junior championships whereby if you're competing in one series, you can compete in another, but not necessarily allowed to have a crossover of circuits. Now, the other car that had stopped, I mentioned, was Daniel Mavlyatov. That was actually him they just passed in the hairpin. So it's not really just a case of the safety car being brought out to remove one driver. They're removing a couple of drivers and several bits of carbon fiber. Did not get to see what happened to Mavlyatov. That happened well into the back. And the end of that opening stint. With the safety car out, let's run through the field. It's Hugh Barter leading the race at the moment. Nicholas Solov second place. Timmy Kucharczyk running third, with Kirill Smal fourth. Valerio Rinicella, he was in fifth place. Daniel Nogales in sixth. And I'm just going to double check because I'm pretty certain, yeah. Daniel Nogales' best finish so far this season is 10th. He's finished 10th three times, my apologies. He's finished 10th 3 times. So that 6th, if he can hold on to it, would be by far his best finish of the season so far. But that's still a long way off. Robert De Haan currently running 7th position ahead of Christian Ho. Philippe Chenik is 9th, and Suleiman Zanfari rounding out the top 10. George Kelstrup is 11th. Now, if it stays the way it is at the moment, with Smile in 4th and Kelstrup down in 11th, that would be enough for Smile to jump Kelstrup for 4th in the point standings. It'd still be quite a distance behind Timothy Kucharczyk, but it would put both Barter and Kucharczyk on notice should Smile have be able to string another great series of results together. It's been a positive first season for the young man. Back down the order, 12th is Martinez Stenshorn. He's actually, I mentioned earlier on, he's had a good weekend. It's his first weekend in Formula 4, his first weekend in Spanish Formula 4, I should say. He's already bagged himself a 6th and a 5th from the first 2 races, which technically puts him 16th in the points, just behind Bruno Dapino. Ricardo Escotto is currently 13th. Bruno Dapino is 14th. Miram Pingasov is 15th. Vladislav Ryabov, started 14th, is currently 16th. Max Meyer, 17th, with Maxim Arkanchelski down in 18th. In 19th, Manuel Espirito Santos, we see in the background the GRS machine getting slowly but surely carted away. Sandoval Intrapuvacak rounds out the top 20 in the race so far after its couple of laps Jeff Mackels for the Motorland Motorsport team running 21st. Theo Jensen in his first weekend in Spanish Formula 4. He's currently 22nd, ahead of Gail Junian and Theo Neal, who we saw have that incident in the opening tour, lost the front wing. He has rejoined. Yes, he has rejoined, so he is at the back of the order. The rest of the cars, that is Sebastian Gravlum, Davara Garcia, Daniel Mavletov, and Noah Lyle, are all out of the race. Keith Barter, meanwhile, has the fastest lap. The additional 1 point that comes with that, although not really representative, because at 2 minutes 27.8 for Barter, that fastest lap is about 26 seconds off the pace we saw in races 1 and 2. That will be obliterated very, very, very quickly, and I'm assuming we're going to get this race restarted fairly shortly, because Lyle's car has been removed. Mavletov's, I think, is either being removed or it's just about to go the final step of the circuit. So we may be able to get going green again in the next lap. We'll know for certain in a few moments. See the drivers there weaving around, keeping some heat and friction in their tyres, and the note comes on screen: safety car is in this lap. And you will see now as they come through the chicane and enter the back straight, Hugh Barter will begin to slow down slightly, will put a hold on the field just behind. The safety car will pull away and make its way back to the pit lane. Barter will control the pace. Solov there in second place, keeping a watching brief. Is Kucharczyk there is third, and Small's fourth. Small will be hoping to make up for the lost points from this morning when he was taken out by Robert De Haan. Rinicella in fifth, with Nogales sixth. He'll be hoping to hold on to that just to get some nice solid points. And Robert De Haan in seventh place, very feisty this morning. Coming into the hairpin now, a little bit of a long left-hander, and then a kind of a very almost right-hand kink before a final left-hand turn. Solov showing his front wing, and he needs to be very careful. You can get penalised for that if you stay out ahead too long. We've got one left-hander. When will Barter go? And he goes. Safety car is taking a long time to get to the pit lane, by the way. So they're on the actual start. And finally they do go. It's a messy restart, I have to say. But Barter leads the field. Kucharczyk there takes second place, goes down the inside of Solov. And Solov kicking up the dust as he goes off and rejoins the circuit. But does he get out ahead of Small? The answer is no. Solov is down to fourth place. So Barter leads. Oh, and a bit of banging wheels there from Solov and Small. And Rinicella is about to take Solov as well. Solov down into fifth position. And if he's not careful, Nogales and De Haan could also go through. Difficult restart by Solov, but that was a messy restart in general for the entire field. Mostly really down to the safety car taking a very, very long time to get to the pit lane. Solov has dropped down to sixth position, behind Zuliman Senfari, who made a lot of places in that restart. Barter leads, Kucharczyk second, Small in second place, Rinicella and Zanfari, and then Solov as they come into the hairpin now. And you see Solov's a 6th car in line. He's got Sternshorn just behind. Sternshorn made a fantastic restart there. He up to 7th place. Likes and Fowry made several positions on that restart. Barter for the moment not under any pressure from Kucharczyk, but Kucharczyk, knowing that he overtook Barter for 2nd place in that hairpin, will be hoping to maybe redo that move from this morning, but only for the lead. As Barter comes through the left-hander that takes him onto the start-finish straight. He crosses the line. With Kucharczyk just 6/10 behind. Then Small a further 2nd behind in 3rd place. Rinachella is 4th. Solov is up to 5th, having passed Zanfari. Migales 7th. Dehaan 8th. Stenshaw has dropped down to 9th. And a lock up there from Kucharczyk as he presses hard to chase down Hugh Barter for the lead. Migales has lost a few positions. He's fallen down to 9th place. And Fari, Dehaan and Sternshorn have gotten past. That's 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th places. You can see the cars really leaning on the roll as they come through the opening right-hander of that chicane. Oh, and a bit of a wobble there. As the field pulling through. On the back end of this circuit, past the rock face. You can see Kirill Small under some pressure from Rinachella. Solov not far behind them, but certainly not in a position yet to threaten the 4th and 3rd place drivers. The gap between Rinachella and Solov is 1.3 seconds. The gap between Rinachella and Small is far shorter than that. Will Rinachella make a dive bomb coming into the hairpin? He's close enough. Small will be wary, having been taken out by Robert Dehaan this morning. Rinachella does not make a move there. Hit terminal velocity really and couldn't get any closer to Small as they travelled down that back stretch. Barter 1 second he has over Kucharczyk. Small in 3rd, Rinachella 4th. Solov now with the fastest lap of the race, 2 minutes 2.4. Took the fastest lap off of Rinachella, who had it only a moment before that. Right now, with 9.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining, Hugh Barter leads this race. Not under a huge amount of pressure. He's keeping a steady gap to Kucharczyk. That's Zanfari. Then you have Dehaan, then Sternshore, 2 of the Motorland Motorsport entries. Behind them is Nogales in the DriveX machine. That's Small. And Rinachella in the orange MP Motorsport number 55. That battle for 3rd place. Solov isn't quite gaining on him yet. He's taking a few hundredths here and there, a 10th here, a 10th occasionally as well, but not enough to really seriously threaten Rinachella at this point. And Small and Rinachella, for all that they are fighting over this 3rd and 4th positions, are still very much keeping with 2nd place Kucharczyk and race leader Barter just ahead. But now as they go through the chicane and onto the back stretch, Rinachella is much closer this time, but Small just pulls away. He does seem to have a little bit of additional straight line speed. Rinachella is pulled out ever so slightly, but trying to stay in the draft as much as possible. As they come to the hairpin apex, and Rinachella closes up, but again it's not enough to really put pressure on Small and take that podium position off of him. As they come through the final corner one more time, onto the start-finish straight. Hugh Barter 1.1 now over Kucharczyk, easing ahead ever so slightly, not by much. He's just set his fastest lap of the race at 2 minutes 2.6, not quite the pace yet that Solov had set a few moments ago. but it's enough to edge a little bit of a gap over Kucharczyk. Small, the MP Motorsport machine just ahead of Rinicella. Still fighting hard over that third and fourth place. Rinicella's a little bit closer. You see Sanfari, the highest turn going through. That's Riccardo Escotto, the blue machine. He's gotten past Daniel Nogales, who's dropped down to 10th position. Nika with Miran Pingasov, apologies, running 11th, just outside the points. Rinicella needs to be a little bit closer, needs to be a little bit more decisive if he's going to get past Kirill Small in the next 6 minutes and 20 seconds plus one lap. Solov is there. The gap was 1.2 between Solov and Rinicella. Well, that's down to just half a second now. Rinicella needs to get past Small, otherwise he is going to be under pressure from the championship leader himself very soon. But does he have enough to go through in a hairpin this time around? I don't think he does, and he doesn't prove me otherwise. A Small locks up coming into the hairpin. He runs a little bit wide, and it's an opportunity now for Rinicella as they come through the left-hander that brings him onto the start-finish straight. But Solov is closing too. Solov, fastest lap of this race at 2 minutes 1.7. That was 7/10 of a second faster than Rinicella's last lap. Barter also sets his fastest lap of the race at 2 minutes 2.3. But Kucharczyk goes quicker still at 2 minutes 2.1, takes 2/10 out of the race leader. The gap between the front two is now 2/10. Sorry, the gap under the front two is just 9/10 of a second. But Kucharczyk having taken 2/10 off. Still the leading five coming through very close together. The gaps are incredibly small. Anyone can still win this race. If Rinicella locks up, he's now under pressure from the championship leader, Nicholas Solov. We see third, fourth and fifth. You see Rinicella is sliding his car so aggressively on the entry into that right-hander. But if you keep sliding your car that much, you will absolutely tear through these tyres and leave yourself open to being taken for a position. Barter is extending his lead somewhat now, trying to build confidence and build a gap to Kucharczyk. Kucharczyk, meanwhile, seems to be less convinced by the threat of Small from behind. But he needs to be more convincing if he wants to take this race win. Through the chicane that leads onto the start-finish straight, Solov is very, very, very close to Rinicella. Can he take fourth place? He's very close. And even Rinicella is running incredibly close to Kirill Small just ahead, but maybe that's not quite close enough to make a move. But Solov is there in fifth place in the blue machine. He'll be looking to find a way through as he's got the orange entry. It's like a bullseye right in front of him. Does he make a dive bomb for fourth position? Not down the inside. Tries to go around the outside. Can he turn that into an inside move as the corner unravels? No, he can't. Rinicella defends, but Rinicella is off the racing line, off the ideal racing line, I should say, and they go through the left hand, and now Solov is right under the rear wing of Rinicella. Rinicella pulls out to the left-hand side of the circuit as he desperately tries to defend from the championship leader. They go off screen for just a moment. We will follow them through when they do come round turns 1 and 2. Hugh Barter, Kucharczyk going through, then Small. And it is Rinicella still ahead of Solov. Solov trying again as they go through 1 and 2 and into 3. This long left-hander, Solov going very, very wide as they now go into a left-hander. And that is Kucharczyk, who was just locked up just ahead. The tyre smoke filling the air. Solov is still there right under the rear wing of Rinicella. He is not giving this position up anyway. Stretcher forward, he goes down the inside of Rinicella on the right-hander, but isn't enough. Rinicella closes the door. That's going to cost Solov a few tenths of a second as we see Barter sliding hard coming through the right hand and Rinicella doing the same, but Solov is still there. The gap between the two is 2/10 of a second. Rinicella going really wide on the left-hander, but Solov maintaining a tighter line. As they come through Oh, and Solo making a mistake, was clean off the circuit, really pushing hard. And Rinicella has a little bit of breathing room. That has allowed him a little bit of a gap with 2 minutes and 10 seconds plus 1 lap remaining in this race. 2 to 3 laps I make that. And that mistake by Solov has given Rinicella a little bit of breathing room. The gap between the pair is now 7/10 of a second. Barter, meanwhile, seeming less and less and less fussed. Back at Kucharczyk behind. That gap is 1.2 seconds. Kirill Smal, meanwhile, still running third, having broken the back of the challenge from Rinicella. They're about to come round now and complete another lap. There will be this one, and then the next one around will be the final lap. So this is the penultimate lap of this race. Hugh Barter continues to lead. Kucharczyk there in second place. Then the red machine of Kirill Smal. Valerio Rinicella has dropped a second behind Smal, but Solov, the gap between fourth and fifth is 7/10 of a second. And Smal really has closed up to the back of Kucharczyk. And he is looking for an opportunity to take second place. Smal has had 3 podiums so far this season, but they've all been third place. He wants to try and take that position from Kucharczyk and get his first second place finish of the season, as we see Barter going through. That's Kucharczyk, then Smal, Valerio Rinicella on screen. Now we switch to Solov. That's in 5th place. Forget everyone from 6 behind, because Sanfari, who's 6th place, is 4.5 seconds behind. They're well out of the picture, as you can see, just coming through. And meanwhile, Rinicella has been pulled in slightly by Solov for 4th place, but it's not quite close enough yet. Smal is also quite close to Kucharczyk, but again, that just does not look quite close enough to make the absolute move for second position. If you're going to take that place, it's going to have to be a dive bomb. This is the second last lap in this race. If they're going to make a move, they have to do it very, very, very soon. Meanwhile, in the background, as you see, Smal closing right up. Solov was there, but again, trying to trick Rinicella into making a mistake. And it hasn't quite happened yet. In the background, by the way, Sternshorn has gotten past Zuleman Sanfari to move into 6th place, to be the leading Motorland Motorsport entry in this race. As we see Rinicella defending hard against Solov. Solov drafting his way through on the start-finish straight. Rinicella goes off, bumps over, runs hard over the bumps. Does this give Solov another opportunity to take Rinicella into turn 3? Not quite yet. They round the right-hander. Now it's a left-hander. Will Rinicella go wide? No, he holds the apex quite close. Solov is still there. And right under the gearbox of the man in 4th place. And now he goes down the inside, and Solov finally does take the position from Rinicella on the 4th position on the final lap of this race. But can Rinicella fight back as they come into the chicane? The answer is no, but they're locking tires, locking wheels significantly to try and maintain their positions. There's Sternshorn coming through with Zanfari and Dehan just behind. So Solov has passed Rinicella. Kirill Smal is within 4/10 of second place man Timotheus Kucharczyk as they go past the wall, and Rinicella goes off the circuit. And it looks as if possibly that Rinicella has kind of overcooked it slightly, and Solov is making a little bit of a gap. Kirill Smal there in the red machine in the middle of your screen is chasing down Kucharczyk for second place. The gap is 4/10 of a second. It may just be a little bit too much. Kucharczyk driving towards second place finish, while the race leader Hugh Barter leads this race almost unchallenged throughout this duration. Comes through the hairpin, and Smal, I think, stays behind Kucharczyk, not able to make a move into the hairpin as Barter comes through the final corner and onto the start-finish straight, takes the win. Fantastic effort. Kucharczyk takes second place, Smal goes fourth, Solov is Solivus for Small was third. Rinicella, fifth place. Sternshore crossed the line in sixth position with Zanfari in seventh. Robert Hahn is eighth. Ricardo Escoto gets some points in ninth position. And it should be Christian Ho. This comes home 10th to take the final points paying position. Fastest lap, and the bonus point goes to Nicolas Solov. Daniel Nogales couldn't hold on to the points paying position in the end. He came home 11th. 12th with Bruno De Pino ahead of Vladislav Ryabov. 14th was Filip Jenik. Miran Pingasov was 15th ahead of Tisanopol Intrapuvasak. 16th, Maximar Kichelski. 17th, Max Meyer comes home 18th. Gail Julian 19th. Theo Jensen 20th. And last, several drivers not to Theo Neal did take the flag in, I think he did so in the pit lane. Manuel Espirito Santom didn't finish, as neither did Jeff Mackles, George Kelstrup, Sebastian Gravlund, Alvaro Garcia, and the Daniel Mavlyatov and Noah Lyle we saw beached and out of the race on the first lap. Well, that was something. Fantastic efforts by Small to try and find a way past Kacharczyk. Didn't quite happen in the end. Fantastic efforts by Rinicella to try and make a move on Kirill Small. Didn't quite happen for him in the end. Also a fantastic effort by Solov to at least get back into fourth after what was a poor restart. We did have time added on for car 6, which is 2 seconds. One of them was Tisanopol Intrapuvazak, and that dropped him behind Arkanshelski. And T. O'Neill was the other driver, but that penalty did not cost him any positions. That was for track limits. And so, into the pit lane, at Parc Ferme comes race winner Hugh Barter. His second win of the weekend, his third of the season. Second place, Timothy Kacharczyk. And Barter gets out of the car, stands on the nose and celebrates. A job very, very well done. He gets congratulations. That is Kirill Small. He came home third. You may have noticed Solov was in the back of Parc Ferme as well. He rolled into the pit lane for examinations and scrutineering. And so the result, once again, Hugh Barter wins from Timothy Kacharczyk. Timothy Kacharczyk taking the rookie win. Kirill Small coming home third ahead of Nicolas Solov. While Valerio Rinicella was fifth ahead of Martin Sternshorn, Zuliman Zanfari seventh, Robert Hahn eighth, Ricardo Escoto ninth, Christian Ho 10th, and that rounding out the points finishes. From 11th down, Daniel Nogales, then Bruno Lupino, Vladislav Ryabov, Filip Jenik 14th, Miran Pingasov 15th, Maximar Kichelski, Tisanopol Intrapuvasak 17th, Max Bayer 18th, Gail Julian 19th, Theo Jensen 20th, Theo Neal 21st classified, but ending in the pit lane. The rest of the runners non-finishers: Manuel Espirito Santo, Jeff Mackles, George Kelstrup, Sebastian Gravlund, Alvaro Garcia, Daniel Mavlyatov, and Noah Lyle. Well, that was quite an interesting race. We see some broken down cars being removed from the circuit. The faint, sad whine of the JCB going backwards. It never means anything good. And so the final race of this weekend, the paddock will begin its pack up and its clear up, and thoughts will move to the penultimate round at Navarra in just over a month's time. Solov could have wrapped up the championship today, most likely, considering the significant gap between Solov and Barter. This is something that will probably be sorted in Navarra. Of course, I remember last season Delina Van Toff won the championship in the penultimate round there as well. That was her ref at that time. And hopefully we'll hear from Hugh Barter with Laura in the pit lane before they go up for podium celebrations.
Hugh, congratulations. Amazing race from start to finish and with the safety car. What's your point of view?
Yeah, so basically that was how I planned it, you know, trying to lead from the start to finish, and the safety car made it a bit tricky because it definitely bunched up the field, but I managed that well enough and kept my cool for the rest of the race.
What's your opinion about this weekend before Navarra?
I think it's a good weekend. I think we could have been a little bit stronger in race 2 and made some better choices on my part, but yeah, it was really strong pace-wise, and hopefully we can carry that to Navarra.
Good luck, enjoy, thank you.
Thank you.
And so Solov goes into Navarra with the gap of 108 points over Barter. There's 144 still left to race for. And he'll be quite happy with that because it also extends his lead over Timotius Kacharczyk in the standings, with Barter now on 180 points and Kacharczyk on 156. And it must be said, for Barter, this round here at Motorland, Aragon and Spa have really brought him right to the fore. He had 3 second places in Spa, and this weekend 2 wins in the third. As we see pictures from around the circuit, Barter starting on pole position. Had an initial challenge from Solov, but held it out bravely in turn 1 to keep the lead. There was action behind as T. O'Neill went into the back of another car. There was a safety car because Noah Lyle and Daniel Mavlyatov also got stranded when the race restarted. Barter continued to lead. Solov fought hard as he fell down the order in a slow restart. Initially down to 6th, then to 5th, after which he challenged Valerio Rinicella for much of the race and pushed his rival hard, sometimes a little too hard, going off the circuit in certain places. Barter looked cool, he looked calm, stayed ahead of Kacharczyk for the entire duration, kept that gap to about 1 second. But Kacharczyk then fell slightly behind as he fell under pressure from Kirill Smal. But Solov, meanwhile, continued to push, continued to press, and as Valerio Rinicella went over the bumps, that gave a window for Solov to go through and take 4th position. For Smal, he kept on pushing really, really hard to try and get 2nd place, but it wasn't quite enough. Barter won from Kacharczyk, Smal, and Solov taking 4th from Rinicella to solidify the top 5. A top 5 that really were only covered by about 3 seconds for the entire race. A fantastic drive, a fantastic set of results there. And we should be getting the podium. Here we are. First 2 drivers on the podium, Kirill Smal in red overalls on your right-hand side, Timotius Kacharczyk on the left-hand side in your black and red overalls, and you'll see the race winner, Hugh Barter, in the white and black Campos colours. Now the centre step of the podium for the race win, and we should see another Campos Racing team member to take the trophy this time as well. And the trophy's been handed out to the top three.
Al segundo clasificado, recibirá otro más tarde. De momento esté como segundo el polaco, Tim Fujarczyk.
Kucharczyk, I think, will be relatively happy with that result, but at the same time, probably a little bit disappointed he's lost more ground to Hugh Barter. Kirill Small, I think, will be reasonably happy. He may have wanted to take second place from Kucharczyk, but what it does, as we see the Campos team member getting a trophy for the race win, what it does mean is Small, with his third place, does jump George Kelstrup for fourth in points. There's a few other little changes in the standings as well. That fifth place finish from Rinnicella takes him above Interpuvizak and Philippe Jenik, and actually just behind Zillemans and Fari. But first, the national anthem of Bulgaria. And the champagne will get sprayed in a few moments' time. Don't know whether they'll do that first or the photos. But the team member of Campos Racing, very cheekily, close to opening his bottle with it right behind his back. Ready, 1, 2, already. Oh, too slow, too slow. Fantastic. And celebrations all round on the podium for this final race of the weekend at Motorland Aragon. What I can tell you is that for the championship standings so far, Nicholas Solov leads the order with 288, ahead of Hugh Barter with 180, then Timotheus Kucharczyk on 156, Kirill Small now on 101, ahead of George Kelstrup on 91 points. Sixth in the standings is Zillemans and Fari with 70. He is 2 points ahead of Valerio Rinnicella, while eighth in the standings is Philippe Jenik with 64 points. And then Sanopol Interpuvizak falls down to 9th with 57. And rounding out the top 10 is Robert Dehaan with 56. Then Manuel Espirito Santo 11th and Gail Julien 12th, 47 points. The next round of the Spanish Formula 4 Championship takes place at the Circuit de Navarra over the weekend of October 1st to the 2nd. And we're looking very much forward to that event before the finale in the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona over the 12th and 13th of November. And it's been some wonderful conditions so far this weekend. And we have seen some fantastic racing, a lot of fantastic action. And it has been an absolute pleasure to bring all this to you.
Balance positivo una vez más, Cristian, ya estáis viendo, dejamos atrás ese podio de la Fórmula 4, ahora se producirá el podio anterior de la Copa Saxo. El balance desde luego muy positivo, como siempre hemos vivido carreras apasionantes, más de lo normal si cabe, porque es verdad que tanto safety car incluido en esta última carrera de la Fórmula 4 nos ha traído esa chispita que nos faltaba, porque últimamente estábamos ya muy acostumbrados a ver ganar a Cholov.